Okay,
Can we move away from this horrible
please.
confusion, Diplodocus?
Dear God, look at the other end.
Let's zoom in at its feet.
Its butthole?
More bad things.
Ah!
Oh, Jesus!
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Paleontologists Rank the Dinosaur Designs of Jurassic World Evolution 2. The creature you can see walking over us right now is our first sauropod that we're featuring on this channel, an animal called Diplodocus. Before we get into ranking this creature, I think we should briefly introduce ourselves for any new viewers to the channel. I'm James Napoli. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences and North Carolina State University.
I'm Amelia Zietlow. I'm a PhD candidate at the American Museum of Natural History.
I'm Scott Johnston. I am the vertebrate paleontology fossil preparator and technician at the Harvard University Museum of Comparative Zoology.
I'm Alex Rubenstahl. I'm a PhD candidate at Yale University.
I'm Dalton Meyer, also a PhD candidate at Yale University.
What is happening?
Just some thumbs. Together.
We're the skeleton crew. Also, I didn't see this in the last episode, and I can't move past it until we address it. Is that a His Dark Materials f***ing pillow on your couch, Jimbo?
It's been there for years, Alex. You slept on a couch with that pillow.
I'm only noticing it now. We're here
All
to
right.
talk about a dinosaur.
Yes, but before we begin, remember that if you like this video and you want to see more like it, you should like the video and subscribe to our channel and click the little bell so that you get notified anytime we release new content.
Please like these videos.
Please, we are begging
you. Can tell, we're all wearing the same exact clothes from the last one. And that's not because we're filming it 5 minutes after. It's because we're being held at gunpoint in our homes until we get enough likes and subscribers.
Help
And
us.
if you don't like these videos,
They'll
like
kill
and
Scott.
subscribe anyways, and we will know that it's ironic.
Right.
Yes.
Remember
They
to
might
hate
not
watch them a
kill
lot.
Scott.
So, Diplodocus is a fairly well understood sauropod dinosaur. It was one of the first ones in North America that was discovered from fairly complete remains. The first species of Diplodocus, because there are three, the first species is Diplodocus longus, which is something we'll use for humorous purposes many times in this video, I'm sure. Diplodocus longus was found by researchers from the American Museum of Natural History, where Amelia is currently a student, where I did my PhD.
And where
so
I was briefly employed for almost 2 years.
Where Scott was employed, and I met Scott. It's a special place to all of us. A couple years later, a team of researchers from the Carnegie Museum of Natural History were out digging under funding from Andrew Carnegie.
Shocking.
Right, very shocking. This was after he realized that he might go to hell if he didn't do philanthropy things, and so he started being a robber baron who contributed money to the arts and sciences. He founded a bunch of stuff in Pittsburgh, including the Carnegie Museum of Natural History.
Jokes
And
on him.
he
went
funded
to hell anyway.
paleontologists. He did go to hell. You know why he went to hell?
Because he was wealthy.
Because he didn't like and subscribe to the skeleton crew.
Exactly. But more importantly, not only did he not do that, which guarantees you a place in hell, he was Scottish.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I know.
Why even
Disturbing
try?
information. So Andrew Carnegie had funded this dig, and they found a couple of Diplodocus specimens, and they named the new species that they found Diplodocus carnegii. And Diplodocus carnegii turned out to be a very important animal because it was the first relatively complete sauropod skeleton mounted for museum display. Now, it was multiple individuals put together. There's very few complete sauropod skeletons. The skull is almost always gone, but even the rest of the body doesn't preserve all at once a lot of the time. So I think it was 3 individuals, 2 of which are Diplodocus, and one of which is actually now a different genus entirely called Gallimiopus, that was named by mine Scott's mother, Emanuel Schott.
Yes.
He birthed us shortly after he birthed Gallimiopus papsti. The skeleton of Diplodocus carnegii at the Carnegie Museum was nicknamed Dippy. It's still on display there. But importantly, Dippy was molded and casted and reproduced for a bunch of different museums. and it was sent all over the world, mostly around Europe. It became a sensation. There was a Dippy cast at the Natural History Museum in London for a long time as the centerpiece of the Great Hall. There's one in Vienna, I think. I think there's one in Germany. They're all over the place. It was really important as like an ambassadorial dinosaur, and I think, to my understanding, really put American vertebrate paleontology on a world stage. Because it was known that the fossil deposits in the United States were far richer than the ones in Europe tend to be. But I think it was the first time that there was kind of this reverse scientific imperialism, whereas before, Europe was the training ground for most scientists, and serious American scientists always went to be trained in usually Britain or Germany. And after this point, this starts to flip, and the United States and Canada, to a lesser degree, at the time, started to become the center of global vertebrate paleontology. And so Diplodocus plays a really important role in that story, which I think is pretty interesting. That, to me, is the main scientific importance of Diplodocus, just in shaping the way the field is now.
Just as a little add to the historical context, it was a little bit after this era, but kind of the slow recognition and importance of American dinosaur paleontology was because, at least early in the country's history, there was this like attitude towards the fauna of the New World, which was just, it's the fauna of the Old World, but smaller or worse. So Jefferson, actually, this was almost 100 years before Diplodocus, but the discovery of the mammoths and stuff in the New World were kind of a big deal, because people could go, there's big cool stuff here, or at least was, but it's gone extinct. And the kind of the Bone Wars dinosaurs, that was the continuation of it. And I mean, U.S. dinosaur paleontology blew the prior like 40 years of dinosaur paleontology out of the water. There were specimens now.
Wait, was Diplodocus a Bone Wars discovery? I thought
It was described by Marsh.
So it was. Okay, so I was wrong about that. It wasn't discovered in the Howe Quarry. The Howe Quarry is the best deposit of it.
Looks like we get to use the Price is Right sound again.
Wow.
So I need to rectify what I said earlier. The Price is Right sound has already played in this video. It was not found by AIM and H. Cruz. They located more remains later, but the original fossils were found during the Bone Wars by O.C. Marsh's team. The type specimen is at Yale, and it's a couple of vertebrae. And for that reason, Diplodocus longus is considered a nomen dubium, because we don't know that we can reliably diagnose the species based on the type material, which is not very good quality. Or not that informative, right? Only a couple vertebrae, you have not a lot of information about the animal.
I swear we need some sort of like evil musical sting every time we mention Cope or Marsh.
Marsh was cooler than Cope.
Cope was cooler than Marsh.
Yeah,
Marsh's nickname by his friends was the Great Dismal Swamp.
I mean, his name
that's
is Marsh.
Great.
Right. Like, imagine your friends like you that much that they're like, yo, Great Dismal Swamp.
Great Dismal.
He just seems like such a stick in the mud, not to make even more plays off the fact that his name is Marsh.
I think the thing with Marsh is that nobody liked him, but he wasn't as big a piece of shit as Cope. Here's a fun piece of information about O.C. Marsh. You know that when James Gandolfini died, he was in preparation for playing O.C. Marsh in a TV movie on HBO about the Bone Wars.
Oh,
What?
Oh,
Yep.
that would have been
Why would
perfect.
you tell me this?
this cripples me.
I know, right? Tony
God
Soprano
damn
was
it.
going to be O.C. Marsh.
This kills the crab.
That's so cool.
I know, right?
You ruined me.
And the
I
movie
still
never
have-
happened as a result.
No.
The Bone Wars were a bad time. A lot of dinosaurs were named, and a lot more dinosaurs that were named had to be unnamed, because they're based on nothing. Also,
Well, that's-
Marsh won the Bone Wars. Everybody's
Oh,
like,
yeah,
who
Marsh.
won? It's like the one with all the fossils.
And the Institute
Right.
and the legacy.
Who didn't die early.
Right. Cope went broke and died penniless, and Marsh started a fossil collection at Yale that remains one of the most important in the United States.
Yeah.
Owned.
And then Yale got a lot of his Cope's fossils anyway, because they got Princeton's material after Cope's material went there.
Yeah, but the Smithsonian got a lot of Marsh's fossil because he didn't.
They got some of them, yeah.
Right.
One of the things that I've always liked about a lot of depictions of Diplodocus, harkening back to the Walking with Dinosaurs one, which I remember little 5-year-old Scott wrapped up in my sleeping bag watching that and having my eyes just explode out of my skull with that intro where it walks over the screen, is that Diplodocus is always pictured with these almost iguana-like spines going down the back of its neck and, well, just the midline of its body. Sometimes they're a little bit more isolated, but a lot of times you just see them going the entire way down. And you might think that that is just paleontologists or paleo artists or anybody just saying, hey, these look rad. This thing looks a whole lot cooler if it was covered in spikes. But you'd be wrong in this case. We're not 100% sure if Diplodocus itself had any of these spikes, but from the aforementioned Howe Quarry, where James and my biological mother, Emmanuel Chop, did a lot of his work when he was at the AMNH, it's a beautiful, not a predator trap, essentially just a prey trap of all these sauropods that got stuck in mud and then died horribly while being eaten alive by Allosaurus and other carnivores. It's awful. A lot of the fossils are like 4 limbs like preserved upright, and then the rest of the animal falling out around it with shed teeth everywhere. Some of the commissioned art for it is
That's absolutely
the most
metal.
It's so awful. There were standing rib roasts of just these horrible, like elephant-sized animals just dying in the Jurassic sun and being eaten by the predators that just happened to be lighter, so they didn't break through the mud. But that absolutely horrible, like one of the worst ways to go, period, gave us some really nice fossils. And a lot of the Howe Quarry material has incredible skin impressions on it, including some that are attributed to Diplodocus or Barosaurus-like diplodocid dinosaurs that have this row of midline spikes going down their back. I don't believe they're osteoderms, but
No, they're
yeah,
not.
this is just something that we know that Diplodocids in general, or at least some of them, most likely had.
Yeah, it's very cool. Is Diplodocus the sauropod with the most known or attributed like skin impressions? Diplodocus, broadly speaking, Diplodocids, because there's probably some mess there.
A lot of kids, yes, because I'm pretty sure most of them come from the Howe Quarry, and those are almost exclusively Diplodocids.
I'm sorry, don't you mean Diplodocus? There are many pronunciations. They're all fine.
You guys know the fucking in SpongeBob when they pick up the orb of confusion? I feel like this just picked up the orb of confusion.
Oh no, this is a very ugly head. I've never actually looked at this closely before.
It's awful.
So Diplodocus is part of. There are two big sauropod groups in Neosauropods. The ones that Titanosaurs and Brachiosaurs belong to, and then Diplodocus, Apatosaurus, and others. These are the Diplodocoids, Flagellicodatans, etc. We'll talk a little bit about that in a sec. But they have really cool teeth, which this model doesn't have. But in sauropods like Diplodocus, all the teeth are actually on the front of the snout. So they're all pushed up to the front of the front margin of the lower jaw and of the upper jaw. And they're these long, horrible peg-like things.
It's like a bunch of pencils.
Yeah, it's just bizarre, and they're densely packed. And if we can find like an image of them in cross-section, I'm sure there's a paper of how they're replaced. They're replaced like just a pavement of these long, horrible tubes that become teeth. Absolutely bizarre. It looks like in this model they've given it kind of a very classic, like general sauropod dentition, which is a shame because I think we in a close relative of this, and I would like to keep an eye out for this in the other Diplodocoids in the game, But this front associated horrible serpent's nest of teeth, will become like this really impressive grazing apparatus.
What do you mean they were replaced like pavement? I don't know what you mean by that.
Like all of them at once, right?
Yes. Yeah, kind of like this horrible, like an ooze almost.
Do they?
Ooze
So
of teeth.
do they? Are they?
If we have a picture, we should throw it up because it.
Yeah. No,
We'll
I'm
find
just
one.
trying. So are you saying that do they grow like lose and grow individual teeth, or are they like doing a pseudo ornithischian thing where
It's
there's
not.
like
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not quite a dental battery
okay.
because it is like you have your one set of teeth there. It's not like multiple sets
Mm-hmm.
that are forming a grinding surface, because these aren't grinding surfaces. These are like they're shearing plant material off of plants.
Yeah, if you've ever grabbed a pine tree branch and then like just
Yeah.
pulled on it and your hand took all the needles off, that's what these things are doing.
Yes, but it's the replacement that is bizarre and weird and disquieting.
So are they like not that like horses? They look like I'm thinking horse like with the grabby teeth in the front,
Mhm.
right? Like but they have molars in the back. But I'm just thinking of like herbivorous mammals that grind down the teeth, or rodents. That's the mammals I'm trying to think of. That the teeth just kind of keep growing. Are they doing that? Like they're keeping?
No, there are new teeth.
There are new
Forming.
teeth. Okay. I
No,
just
so it's
you say pavement and teeth together, and I don't like it. And I need to know what that means.
no, the horse
Bite the
comparison is
curb.
interesting. And I also kind of thought of giant ground sloths, which have really long teeth, but like the teeth are long, but it's not just that one tooth that you're grinding down.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is we have an image up. Here I am gesturing towards the image that will have that more clearly articulates what this looks like, because it is odd.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures right now. It's
Horrible,
bad.
right?
It's really
hard to
bad.
describe.
Almost
Anyway,
indescribably bad.
Them's the teeth. Yeah, it's a Lovecraftian entity. I can't describe it.
I mean,
Essentially
listen,
the way
any
that-
sauropod would have been, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it would have been the weirdest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
Just terror to behold.
Essentially, the way that I would describe it is Diplodocus is a very goofy and stupid-looking animal, especially in the face, but not like this. This isn't the proper type of goofy and stupid-looking.
Although
Another
I like that it looks very tired.
it does.
I want to die.
Another gripe I have is, and I bet more than one sauropod in this game does it, but I also think it'd be fun to kind of track this through them, because I think probably some of the models have better heads than others.
Mhm.
But they have put the nostrils clear back up here, which is an old trope, and not totally unjustified in its origins, because the actual bony holes, the nares, are back up on the head like this, but there's not good evidence that the opening of the nostril in the flesh would have also been back there. It probably would have been up more towards the front of the face.
And that's
So
something- yeah.
how is that? The problem that I'm having where the hole is in a different spot from the nostrils, the only example I can think of is proboscideans, and I don't like that thought. But I'm just trying to get at like
It's
do
been
they-
repeatedly proposed.
It's
I know.
They have trunks.
I know,
Well,
and I
they
don't
don't,
like.
they have a
I just
beak.
what I'm trying to get at is how do we have any way of knowing what they were doing? Like, do they have any depressions or anything at all in the front of the snout that would indicate that maybe there's a nostril there?
Larry Whitmer did research on this, and he came down pretty conclusively on the side that the nostril was like much further forward. I think it's not that there's evidence of the nostril there, but a lack of evidence of any soft tissues that have to be associated with it up there.
There
But
was
I
also
don't remember exactly.
There were also some conclusions made, just essentially just logical conclusions, that one of the major reasons why most animals, unless they're doing something really funky with it, have their nose really close to their mouth is because it's really good to smell things before you put it in your mouth, because that's one of the primary ways you tell if something is good to eat or not.
So then, what the hell is this thing doing? Like, I'm looking at the skull right now. Like, why would you put your nares on top of your head?
You
Like-
want to get your nothing to interrupt the munch.
I've heard some suggestions that a more enlarged kind of like fleshy nostrils in front of where they actually go into the head, could do a bit to warm up air a little bit more and moisten it a bit before they get into the throat yeah.
Bob Bacher has proposed that it functions as a fleshy resonating chamber, and that these things were singing at each other.
Sure.
Conjectural, but
choices.
Conjectural and maybe true, maybe not true.
Okay.
Can we move away from this horrible form of confusion, Diplodocus?
Dear God, look at the other end.
Let's zoom in at its feet.
Its butthole?
More bad things.
Ah!
Oh, Jesus. What's happening?
Although the joke here is that these feet look fine and good and reasonable and nice, which means that they're not good sauropod feet, because sauropods have the worst feet.
Nightmare feet.
Of anything ever. Their forefeet look like kidney beans. They're like elongated tubular kidney beans, and they're bad.
Contrary to the name, they do not have lizard feet.
Not at all, and I don't know why they got that name. It befuddles me to this day.
It is literally because they had five. Because they have 5 fingers and toes.
5 fingies.
Oh, unlike humans.
Well, for dinosaurs, ornithischians, and theropods don't.
Granted, I could see if you had like a sauropod foot fossil and it was flat, they kind of look like they have fingers and lizard, I suppose if you don't put any effort into it.
Do they have the big manual claw though?
Kind of.
They do. Yeah, it's not extremely enlarged, but it's bigger.
Right, so that is a feature. Sauropod, the first, unlike in, well, sort of unlike in theropods, but because theropods lose digits, possibly 4 and 5, or possibly 1 and 5, depending on where in the tree you are. But an important feature of saurischians is that the first manual ungule of the hand, so that first claw, is real big, and you can see that in sauropods. And as Jimbo alluded to in an earlier video when we were kind of discussing other bad ornithischian feet, all dinosaurs that are quadrupedal are secondarily so, and they're bad at it. And they're turning their weird little graspy arms into things that are supposed to bear their weight, and they all end up looking monstrous. And I think we can probably really show this off in the Iguanodon video when we get to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's gruesome, folks.
Now, moving swiftly to the other end of the Diplodocus,
Butthole.
it's something better is going on
It's
there.
cloaca.
Butthole.
It's ovipositor.
Ugh.
It's the Walking with Dinosaurs joke. They didn't have those.
So, Dalton, why don't we show off the notoriously overpowered combat abilities of sauropods in this game?
Yes. Certainly. Okay.
I mean, these things are absolutely gigantic monsters. Of course they would win any fight with anything.
Right, how could anything possibly harm them? They're like walking battleships.
I need to turn combat back on.
Or dreadnoughts, if you will.
I will not.
Well, so as we were talking about earlier about how overpowered sauropods are, you may be familiar with the hypothesis that their incredibly long tails may have been used as a weapon or as a whip against predatory dinosaurs. And there was a recent paper that we talked about in like our third video. It's our third video, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. About whether or not it was actually not focused on whether or not they used the tail as a weapon, but whether or not they could move it fast enough to produce a whip crack sound. And the paper found that they would break their tail if they moved it that quickly. So they probably were not producing whip crack sounds, but that does not mean that they were not using it as a weapon, which we will see this weapon deployed, I'm sure, very soon against these tiny little hollow-boned theropods.
I mean, if there's any theropod that could hypothetically survive a tail smash by a Diplodocus, it would probably be Allosaurus, because we know that they got beat to shit and still survived.
Allosaurus was the A10 of the theropod world.
It's
Allosaurus.
the what is that? The survivability?
Right, yeah, like an A10
survivorship
can fly.
bias.
Right, well, no, just like can an A10s fly home with like one engine and like half a wing?
Yes.
Right, that's what Allosaurus was like. They were just like, I didn't hear no bell.
It stands at the back of the community center. rakes one of its long hands down the chalkboard. You ever seen a Diplodocus eyes? Like a doll's eyes.
While we were waiting for the Allosaurus, I'll ask if anyone caught the little social animation between the two Diplodocus earlier, because that was really, really nice.
The sauropods
actually.
Go on.
I was gonna say it improved my opinion of the design a lot. Watching it do that.
What was the animation?
True.
They kind of nuzzle each other.
It's really sweet.
While we wait for this, do you want to release some Diplodocus so we can see how they come into the world?
Sure, yeah.
I
kill two birds with one stone.
Suspect they're not going to be running.
Backflips.
No. I don't think it actually happened. I think it was a trick of the light, but it kind of looked like its eye rolled to the back of its head. Hang on. We got a hunt happening. We'll have to redo that release.
Right.
Because the hunt happened as soon as it started, which, makes sense. Okay. Uh-huh.
Ooh.
That was rough.
I liked how he got dragged there for a minute.
That was good. I like how the sauropod isn't trying to help itself.
Got some food out of that, and now it's not going to hunt anymore?
Is the flesh grazing hypothesis confirmed?
I think by accident, because I made these the weakest possible Allosaurus they could be. Here's another hunt. It's just a continuation of the same hunt.
Man, I really wish these things could fight back.
I do too. That's very depressing and sad.
Do you want to watch a large, peaceful animal be murdered by a animal with blades for teeth? That's what we're doing right now.
In our skeleton crew tradition.
Yeah, I'll make some more Diplodocus so we can truly appreciate them slowly amble out of the hatchery.
But you know what's funny is it's not as fun when it's not Euplocephalus dying immediately each time.
No, that was very funny.
That was
very sad.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I just like the way they tip over.
Oh.
Man, Diplo 8 has really not had a good time.
No. Speaking of Diplo, do we want to mention the fun facts that we talked about earlier?
Yeah, so I have no idea if this is true or not, but apparently it is. No, I've heard it from a reliable source, but I don't remember who that was. But that the musician Diplo chose the stage name because he likes Diplodocus. I think after seeing its skeleton at a museum in Europe. He's European, right? I mean, obviously.
Probably.
Yeah.
Most of those house DJs are, right? If he's not a house DJ, don't come at me. I don't care about music genres.
Right.
Sounds like a Diplo song.
So what I'll say about the release animation is it's boring and slow, but has no nobility to it, like some of the other sauropod ones do.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make me feel like, oh my god, what a beautiful thing.
Oh, what a beautiful thing. It kind of has like a Family Guy death pose a little bit.
It does, yeah. Oh, it's gonna happen again.
Okay, and it's just the same leg grab. This is depressing. I want us.
Wait, are they both gonna do it? Or is
it's
he
like that scene of
another
Walking
one?
with Dinosaurs, except they're not all hunting one. They're each hunting their own.
And they can only grab. That's because they can only grab the back left leg. They cannot grab any other leg, or the tactic.
That's what they call that nature's handle.
I was gonna say it's the Diplodocus heel.
I thought that was funny.
That was good.
Thank you.
Let's see. I want to see if any of these over here will do the social animation for us, and then I think we can get to going to.
Oh, right there, right in the lake. In the lake, appropriately.
Oh, they're happy.
Oh, good joke.
And then they kind of talk to each other, and then last little bonk. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, it's cute.
All right, let's go to the species viewer. All right, so looking at Diplodocus here, D tier, it's ugly.
Ooh.
It's ugly. It doesn't do the only thing a sauropod design. Like, listen, I feel like sauropods should feel like whales a little bit, and when you see them, you're just kind of amazed that an animal can be that large. I don't get that from this. I just feel like it's a D tier design. It's kind of ugly. I don't like it.
What is currently in our D tier?
Nothing.
Nothing. This would be our first.
Okay.
I'm gonna disagree with that because, like, especially in the species viewer and like at a distance, just looking at it, I'm like, I know what it is. I know that it's Diplodocus. It looks like Diplodocus. It's got a weird long horse face. It's got the proportions. It's really long and low. It's It's got the spikes. Like, that is what it is. It's not totally offensive as long as it keeps its mouth shut. So I'll give it a C.
I would also give it a C. I think it is Mark 1 Mod 0 Diplodocus. It has no frills. It's fine. Like, it's... When I picture a Diplodocus in my head, it looks pretty much like this. It's not like... It's not pushing the boundaries. It's not doing anything particularly special. Its color patterns are a bit dull, but like it's Diplodocus. It's fine. I would have loved if it had a whole lot more interesting colors or patterns, especially patterns. I think it could have been. I know it's kind of a walking with dinosaurs thing, but like I would have loved if it had a bunch of stripes on its tail and stuff, and really kind of accented the features that made it look unique and interesting. Sure, they screw up the like head and teeth and face and stuff like that, but it's fine. And but that's all it is. Like, to me, a D tier like upsets me to a degree, and this one doesn't do that. It's disappointing.
Okay. I honestly, I gotta echo a lot of what our good boy Scott said. It's fine. I like the silhouette at a distance.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start looking at it closer, kind of falls apart. But I would make one of these. So I'm going to say it's a C as well.
The social animation could push it into B for me because I really enjoyed that. But I agree that it's a C. I wouldn't call it worse than the Jurassic World Velociraptor. Which is like my baseline for C into like not going into D territory. So it's a C for me.
All right. Well, in that case, the C's have it. And we can officially say that Diplodocus is ranked C tier.
C for Carnegie.
C for Carnegie. And now it's time to spin the wheel. All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
2, spin.
That wheel.
Spin it. Oh, yeah, spin it. Good.
Yep. Oh.
Okay.
All right. Excited.
All right. So, guys, next week we'll do another Ceratopsian, our second one on the channel. This one, spoiler alert, happening to be my favorite Ceratopsian. Yes, everybody clap for me, please. Before we go, one final reminder to like and subscribe. It really helps us out as we try to grow the channel. And a reminder that if you like Diplodocus' skull for some godforsaken reason, you will be able to purchase one on our Redbubble page, which is linked in the description, and I'll have a link pop up on screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to seeing you next time.